As of today, Friday the 7th of June 2019, the Syrian war has been raging on for 8 years, 2 months and 23 days. Since then, an estimated 400,000 Syrians have been killed in the spiralling events. Roughly 5.7 million Syrians have fled the country, and more than 6.1 million people are displaced internationally.
Wait. I mean, whoa. What?
It's alright. To wrap your head around exactly what's going on, we need to start from the beginning. The very beginning. The first shots in Syria's civil war were fired on March 15, 2011 by Syrian ruler Bashar al-Assad against peaceful Arab Spring demonstrators. In response to the continuing protests, the Syrian government announced several plans to appease citizens. State employees received an immediate salary increase. Assad and the government also made plans to lift Syria's long-standing emergency law and the licensing of new political parties. Assad addresses the nation in a 45-minute televised speech. He acknowledges that the government has not met the people's needs, but he does not offer any concrete changes. The state of emergency remains in effect. A few months later in July, some of these protesters start shooting back. They name themselves the Free Syrian Army, and their uprising becomes a civil war. Extremists from all over the region make their way to Syria to join the rebels. The Free Syrian Army's population continues to rise. Assad's army fight back. Nearing the end of the year in December, Syria signs an Arab League proposal aimed at ending violence between government forces and protesters. And that's about the end of 2011.
In the start of 2012, the Arab League suspends its mission in Syria as violence there continues. In February, the UN Security Council has a meeting which ended with no agreement on a resolution. This meeting intended to pressure Syria to end its crackdown on anti-government demonstrators. In that same month, Russia and China vote against a resolution condemning Syria. That same month, the United Nations General Assembly passes a non-binding resolution declaring the Arab League plan for Assad to step down. The vote was 137 in favour and 12 against, with 17 who didn't vote. 1 month later, the Syrian government accepts Annan's plan to end violence. The proposal seeks to stop the violence, give access to humanitarian agencies, release detainees, and start a political dialogue to address the concerns of the Syrian people. August 6, 2012, the Syrian Prime Minister Rihad Hijab's resignation from office and defection from Assad's regime. 3 days later, Syrian television reports that Assad has appointed Health Minister Wael al-Halki as the new Prime Minister. At the end of the year, Syrian opposition factions formally agreed to unite as a national coalition for Syrian revolutionary and opposition forces.
January 6, 2013, Assad announces he will not step down from his position, and his vision of Syria's future includes a new constitution and an end to the support for the opposition. The opposition refuses to work for Assad's government. In June, the US President Barack Obama says that Syria has crossed a red line with its use of chemical weapons against rebels. In August, the United Nations and the USQ call for an immediate investigation of Syrian activists. Claims that the Assad government used chemical weapons in an attack on the civilians on August 21st. Anti-regime activist groups in Syria say more than 1,300 people were killed in the attack outside the Damascus, many of them women and children.
February 15, 2014, a second round of peace talks end in Geneva, Switzerland, with little progress in ending Syria's civil war. That same month, the UN Security Council, without any opposition, passes a resolution boosting access to humanitarian aid in Syria. Assad is re-elected, reportedly receiving 88.7% of the vote in the country's first election since civil war broke out.
Putin says that Russia is supporting the Syrian government in its fight against ISIS. On October 30th, 2015, the US White House spokesman John Earnest says that the US will be deploying less than 50 Special Operations Forces, who will be sent to Kurdish-controlled territory in northern Syria. The American troops will help local Kurdish and Arab forces fighting ISIS with logistics and are planning to bolster their efforts.
The truce calls for the Syrian regime and rebels to give relief organisations access to disputed territories so they can assist civilians. 1 month later, Russia starts withdrawing its forces from Syria. A spokeswoman for Assad tells CNN that the Russian campaign is winding down after achieving its goal of helping Syrian troops take back territory claimed by terrorists. On the 22nd of December, Syria's state-run media announces government forces that have taken full control of Aleppo, ending more than 4 years of rebel rule.
Trump and Putin reach an agreement on restraining violence in southwest Syria during their meeting at the G20 in Hamburg, Germany. During the month of October, ISIS loses major self-control over its self-declared capital, Raqqa. US-backed forces fighting in Raqqa say major military operations have ended, though there are still pockets of resistance in the city. February 24th, the UN Security Council approves a 30-day ceasefire resolution in Syria, though it is unclear when the ceasefire is meant to start or how it will be enforced. On September 17th, Russia and Turkey announced that they have agreed to create a zone in Syria's Idlib province, potentially preventing a large-scale military operation and impending humanitarian disaster in the country's last rebel stronghold. The zone, which will be patrolled by Turkish and Russian military units. On December 19, 2018, US President Trump tweets, "We've defeated ISIS in Syria. My only reason for being there is during the Trump presidency."
On March 23rd, Kurdish forces announced they have captured the eastern Syrian pocket of Baghuz, the last populated area under ISIS rule.